Hello and good evening, and welcome back to another edition of Crypto Scoop FM. Now, many of you are extremely excited about what's happening with the bull market, and so am I. And I've been looking at a lot of different data that gives me a lot of confidence that this is not one of those smaller rallies. Maybe we're building up to something interesting. So we're going to talk about all of the massive bull indicators that are swimming around us and telling us so much about what's happening. But really today I want to deep dive into the CreativeBed ecosystem. Previously I've spoken about how CreativeBed and BitTensor and many of these subnets are kind of into the symbiotic relationship, where a lot of what is happening on the machine learning, the AI infra side on BitTensor is essentially powering the stuff, the agentic stuff that is being built and launched on the CreativeBed ecosystem. So we're going to dive because there was a question which was posed to me about this, and so we're going to dive into this space and see what's going on. If you're new here, I'm Rohit. I've been in crypto for the last 4 years. I spent multiple years working across companies like Polygon Labs, Long Hash Ventures, and Socket Technology, where I had a front row seat of everything exciting happening on the technological front in crypto. And now I make these videos to share what I've learned over the last 4 years. As always, nothing that I say should be construed as financial advice, life advice, or legal advice. Crypto is inherently risky and everything could go to zero. So if you're going to make an investment decision based on what I say here, it's all on you, my friends. Okay, with that, let's dive in. Now, a lot of very interesting indicators, propping around on Twitter, and so I wanted to bring you a few curated things that are indicating to me that this market is just beginning to heat up. And the first place where I'm going to start this is the ETF inflows, and so we are now in the 10th straight week of positive inflows on the ETF side of things. And so clearly there's a lot of retail demand in the US for these assets. And you can already see that in the last week we had $1.78 billion of ETF purchases, guys. So that's a new all-time weekly high, only indicating that there's a lot of buying pressure for ETH. So, probably the reason why ETH has climbed like almost 44% price increase, over a span of the last couple of weeks. So great indicator here, guys. Next, I wanted to show you this very interesting chart. Kudos to Crypto Dan, and he showed this Coinbase premium over the spot Ethereum price on Binance and other major exchanges operating outside on international territories. And for the first time, actually not for the first time, but after a long time, we are seeing a premium being paid on Coinbase by buyers on Coinbase. And so what this indicates is that US institutional capital is moving in and they're aggressively accumulating Ethereum to the point that they're willing to pay a premium for this. Guys, this is bullish news. There can't be anything more bullish about Ethereum at this point. Greatly encapsulated in this chart, right? Now, next up, Ethereum search terms, right, blowing up on Google. You can see already in the past, year, we saw this stop in around November, December 2024 when we had that like mini bull run, and Ethereum, I think, again, at that point in time also went to close to like 3,000 or a little more, or maybe even 3,500. And since then, it kind of pushed back down all the way to like 1,500s. And now we're seeing interest grow up again. And so retail is beginning to look at the markets, not only look at the markets. I have a strong feeling, and data shows that they've already started kind of getting in, right? So again, great indicator giving us confirmation that we are setting foot into a new alt cycle. Guys, excited. That's exciting. BitDigital has announced that it has acquired 19,683 ETH from its recent $67 million direct offering. The company now holds 120,306 ETH and will expand its ETH treasury. There was some other news, and let me see if I can find the website. Yes, this is it. So the strategic ETH reserve basically, captures what's really happening on the acquisition of Ethereum in various treasuries across crypto and the real world, across corporations and crypto. And we can already see the race is on, guys. And so BitMine recently flipped sharp like gaming in terms of their total ETH reserves, which now stand at 300,000 ETH tokens, roughly worth $1.1 billion. And so they're trading at a premium of twice of their, of the ETH NAV that they hold per unit of capital that they hold in their company. And, we're seeing BitDigital now in the race. They now hold 120,000. It's interesting. For the longest time, Ethereum Foundation held the most ETH, as a treasury, as an organization. But they have now been flipped by these two major, listed American companies. And are we seeing a trend where a lot of the MicroStrategy, what MicroStrategy was able to do, that playbook, some of these companies are basically trying to replicate that. I have no clue how successful they're going to be, or if this is something which is going to be, as successful as Michael said. I think Michael's, for that kind of success, you need a lot of things going in for you. Maybe Ethereum is that token, and I'll talk about why this might be possible. But it could also just be a bubble, and it could all explode. But let's explore further. Let's expand into why I think these bets being made by Joseph Lubin, who is also the founder of Consensus, one of the largest Ethereum companies, and also Tom Lee, who was recently appointed as chairman of BitMine. Why they are probably doing this, right? So, before that, the total net ETH issuance since the merge has been 388,000, and ETH ETFs bought 406,000 ETH over the last 2 days, guys. I want to take a pause and just ingest this information, because merge happened almost 2.5 years back now. And for all of the ETH that has been issued, just in the last 2 days, 406,000 has been overbought by these ETFs. Which shows there's a supply shock is coming. Even if you look at here, the purchase to issuance ratio is currently 95x, which means a lot of ETH is being bought versus what is already available in the market, and that's kind of going to create this further squeeze in supply and push up the prices for ETH as the demand skyrockets. Now, the point to think about is what's really happening there, right? And I'm going to come back to these bull market indicators for a second, which is super interesting. But what's really happening is that the three major bills that has been hanging around in the U.S. Congress for the longest time, just got cleared. It was voted by a bipartisan majority from both houses, and so now we have the Genius Bill, which basically focuses on making USD the greatest product in human history by exporting it to billions of people around the world in the form of stable coins on crypto rails. And where is all of these stable coin rails being built, guys? It's Ethereum, because Ethereum today is basically the largest issuer of stable coins, guys. So I wanted to show you some data on Artemis as well, because this is interesting. If you look at this terminal very quickly, you will just I will make my point across, because the amount of stable coin on Ethereum is huge, guys. Let me see if we have data on stable coins. I mean, Ethereum, just look at Ethereum. Look, Ethereum is $127 billion, and next is Ton. So it has this huge lead in the market in terms of stablecoin dominance, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. And also think about the fact that Ethereum is globally decentralized. It's a very low probability that we're going to see major institutions, corporations trust any of these private sector chains. I call them private sector chains because most of the validators are essentially very close to the team, or the team is running validators to secure the network, which is the least decentralized way of doing it. So Ethereum for the win here, and this probably tells you why Tom Lee, why Joseph Lubin are suddenly building these ETH treasury companies, because they see that with the creation or the passage of the Genius Act, and also not just the Genius Act, but also the Crypto Clarity Act, which basically sets up the regulatory scene around the broader crypto asset class, right? The spot crypto coins, both in terms of defining them, like who would regulate them, SEC or the CFTC, what kind of consumer protections would come in place. So these are the tailwinds that are driving the creation of these ETH treasury companies along the lines of Bitcoin treasury companies, and they're just getting started, as you can already see. They've just been created in the last couple of weeks, or maybe a month at max. So it's a very new phenomena, beginning to take over, and we are still to see if this will turn into something really big, something really, of the scale of MicroStrategy, but who knows, might happen, right? Okay, I want to go back and show you these bull market peak indicators. So right now, as you can see, there are about 30 indicators in total on the screen. We can see the top 12, and none of these zero guys underline the number zero out of 30 bull market peak indicators have hit so far. So we can already see progress on the second last column, and none of them are even close to getting hit, which means we are still away from a full-blown alt season or a blow-off top, guys. I think these are great buying opportunities. These are great buy the day opportunities on how the sector rotations happen. Because when you think about how the capital usually moves in any previous alt cycles, it was first BTC, then Ethereum, then large alts, and finally from the large alts you will see the degen coins, the memes, the shit coins. They will start pumping and going all berserk. So I think we're at a stage where BTC has probably pumped. ETH is beginning to pump. It is already up like 45-50% from its lows, we're already starting to see many of the big alts, the large alts, the XRPs, the Algorands, Solana. All of them are beginning to pump, right? All of them are showing strength. So money has already started moving into these larger alts, where retail is probably ready, kind of already accumulating these coins, and so we are seeing these rallies happen across all of them. So great indicator, guys. I think this tells us that we're still away from the top, far away. In fact, I had this. Let me see if I can still find it for you guys. We had this altcoin season index, and you can see yesterday when I recorded the video, this was at 39.9. Today it's at 49. So it's right in the middle, guys. It's right in the middle. We've had a few fake outs before, like in 22, just before the bull run, we had this little fake out. It dropped back again, and then we had a massive again. You will see in 22 post January 22. You had a dip. Again, it went to the center point, dipped, and then we had another rally in 24, the beginning of the year, and then again it dropped, had a little peak, and then again it ran. So right now we're at the stage where it is hitting at this point. Pull back a little, but I think this is all ready, guys. This is all ready to peak, and this chart says it's going to peak in December 2025. In reality, nobody knows. It could peak in the next couple of weeks, or it might peak later. My thesis is it's not really a strong alt season. My reasoning for that is we haven't seen a single rate cut, guys. We saw the inflation number come up. We saw that inflation number was higher than what the Fed was estimating. And although widely divergent from the true inflation numbers, right? So Probably what's going to happen is we're not going to see a strong alt cycle until the end of this year, which I think makes sense when I look at this chart now, because September is when the Fed meets again, and there's so much pressure by Trump on Jerome Powell, who is the Federal Reserve Chairman, for at least 3 rate cuts, guys. So if we're going to see those rate cuts, if we're going to see, time will tell if he will buckle under the pressure. There are also threats of resignations. Trump is asking Powell to resign, and so maybe he will, give in to his demand and do a rate cut because employment numbers are pretty strong. But yes, inflation is a headache. So, going back on the back of all of this news, Coinbase did an all-time high and crossed the $100 billion figure, which is pretty cool to see. The first American crypto company to achieve this feat. That apart, Kyle Dupes dropped this really cool update where he said that Trump wants 0% capital gains on BTC payments and might let crypto into US retirement accounts too. This was a big news that Trump is thinking about letting US retirement accounts, which is basically the 401k, the pension funds and all, and allow them to hold digital assets. Now it's unclear yet whether it's just going to be Bitcoin or it's going to be other crypto coins as well. But if that does happen, that's like trillions of dollars in additional capital that could flow in, guys. So there's a lot of positive news that is coming around. The tailwinds, the things that could pump the market. So something to clearly think about, right? So okay, I quite like this chart. It tells you something about how irrational the markets are. XRP is now valued at a market cap of $200 billion, which is equal to or higher than the combined. It's actually higher than the combined market cap of Solana, USDC, Hype, Chainlink, and Sui. Guys, take a moment to internalize this because it shows you how crazy markets go, how crazy communities are in crypto. When they decide to back a project simply because it has made them a lot of gains. So XRP foundationally has been nothing but a private ledger at best. I will not call that a crypto company. I've shared. I do not consider them to be decentralized. I don't know what products really they have that they sell in the marketplace. So it's somehow not surprising because if memes can pump to crazy valuations, it's no surprise that XRP and Cardano, which in comparison to bigger chains. If we try to look at like some data like transactions and active addresses, you can already see like Sui, Solana, like at least they have some numbers like let me see if I can add XRP here for you guys. So XRP, do we have that? Oh, unfortunately, we don't even have XRP. It's like such abysmal numbers, guys. So, something to think about how markets, can often go crazy when there is an alt cycle. And we can take advantage of it. We can take advantage of it by being early, placing our bets, and knowing when to quit, right? It's okay to leave money on the table. I said this yesterday as well. It's okay to leave money on the table, but it's not okay to burn your capital, right? So play and know when to exit. And it's okay to leave money on the table. Even if you make only 2x, 3x, that's better than round tripping and losing 90% of your capital. And I can tell this from my personal experience, it's extremely painful. Okay, I love this chart. It basically shows you how much Bitcoin you need to retire in 2035, and it's an inflation adjusted figure based on a 7% inflation. It uses, it basically compares across different age groups and across different countries. So you can see with European countries, slightly more expensive places where the cost of living is higher, like Monaco, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, Iceland, the United States, Singapore. You probably need around 7 Bitcoin, 6 to 7 Bitcoin. And as we go down the risk curve, down the expense curve, you see you probably need less than 0.01 Bitcoin to survive in many of these countries. So very interesting how people are predicting. I mean, I take all of this data with a pinch of salt. Nobody knows what will happen to Bitcoin. I mean, it is very much a probability that Bitcoin could go to zero. But people, money is all about belief systems, and if there is now a strong belief that okay, it works, the math works, checks out, there is cryptographic proof that there can never be more than 21 million Bitcoin, so and so, there is economic security and so, and it's a better alternative to gold. We might as well get to a place in our lives, a time in our lives where we'll probably see this as a reality. So do stack Bitcoin, guys. Keep buying, DCing a portion of your portfolio into Bitcoin. No harm, right? Okay, another interesting chart, tech sector ETF flows and assets under management. The Kubesi letter, they've written that the tech market's share of the overall ETF market is now at a record 42% and has doubled in the last 5 years, right? And the rolling 12-month, net ETF inflows, as you can see in the bottom shown in this blue chart, is also at an all-time high. And so the rolling 12-month number is hovering anywhere between 19 and 26 billion dollars. So that's a lot of money being investors are allocating into crypto. Clearly, a combination of artificial intelligence, crypto, ETFs, all of them is clearly showing where the trend is, where the money is, right? So yes, good indicator for our bags again, because as more money flows into the tech sector, crypto is definitely one of the hottest, blockchain is one of the hottest technology trends apart from artificial intelligence. Like I would say, if not right up there, then a close second, guys. So great news again. Finally, one of my most favorite projects in crypto, Hyperliquid has now achieved 13.8 billion with a capital B in open interest. Now, open interest has reached a new all-time high, 7th day in a row. The only thing this points to is that we are in a very strong alt cycle, and people have already begun, speculating. And if the alt season index is true and we're yet to see that great pump, I think this number could easily double or even grow quadruple. And if that happens, I have no qualms saying that hype might just be the biggest surprise of this cycle. It's already, I think, currently trading at, let's see where we are at hype. I think last I checked it was at $10 billion or something, but I want to be sure. Hype is at $14 billion, guys. $14 billion with a fully diluted value of 44.7 billion. So, yesterday I was looking at where Hyperliquid actually ranks in the top 100 coins. If I apply a reverse filter by FDV instead of the circulating market cap, and you can already see 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9. Hyperliquid is already at number 9, guys. And people say this is the Binance killer. And so if that's going to happen, Binance is sitting currently at $108 billion FTV. And so that means we're still looking at a good 2.5x, which means from current prices, we're looking at hype going to what? 80 billion, 90 billion. Another cool thing about hype is all of the buybacks that are happening. So about 80 to 90% of all the fees that Hyperliquid generates goes into buying back the token. And I was looking at, they have this fund called Assistance Fund. Let me see if I can find it. Hyperliquid Assistance Fund, which shows you basically how much, how the buyback is happening. And I think it was crazy. Like, there's a total of $1.2 billion of buyback, I guess, which has happened. But just to be sure, let's look at the stats again. It's just I don't want to misquote on this. Let's see. Oh, it's not here. Okay, no problem, guys. But yes, that buyback mechanism is essentially also working on two hyperliquids favor, right? So that's where we are on the alt cycle, right? So clearly, a lot of cool things are happening in the market, and these things should give you enough evidence that we are now in a phase where lots cooking, and as the slow cook happens, when our at this critical juncture where we probably have a couple of weeks, right, to position ourselves early into many of the emerging narratives. And in an upcoming video, which I'm going to record over the weekend, I'm going to lay out my thesis on how this rotation would actually happen and who the winners are going to be, right? So we can position ourselves early. And I also shared my thesis on how I'm looking to, take profit and preserve my capital at the same time, because I just don't want to burn everything. And I'm looking at this bubble strategy, guys. So I'm going to talk more about my bubble strategy. It'll give you a clear outlook on how I am looking at my own portfolio. It's not a huge amount of money, but it is a big sum for me. And I'm going to share with you what I'm doing. Okay. Now, the second part of the thesis, where I now want to talk about CreativeBed, right? So CreativeBed is an AI agent launchpad. It's a smaller beta play to virtuals protocol, and essentially it allows AI agent devs to build and to basically launch an agentic token through their launchpad, and engage with the community. It's very similar to what Virtuals is already built. In fact, much of the infrastructure that Bed has created now is basically a rip-off or a copy. 80 to 90% is a copy paste of Virtuals, guys. So that is what it is. But there is a unique thing about Bed, which is largely around their closeness to the BitTensor ecosystem. I had shared this before as well in one of my previous videos, which you can find right here, where I spoke about how CreativeBed has created the Tau Council, the CreativeBed Tau Council, which includes a lot of members of this Tau Council are basically subnet owners and subnet founders on BitTensor. And so the goal here is that, okay, on BitTensor, we have all of this infrastructure that these subnet companies are building. And on CreativeBed, I will help you organize and identify great agentic developer talent who will then tap into the technology systems that are being built on these various subnets and create agents like front-end AI applications, AI agents, which are powered by these BitTensor subnet technology plays. It's a win-win for both sides, because BitTensor is yet to prove product market fit for many of the AI applications models that they are building, and CreativeBed positions themselves very in a uniquely differentiated way versus Virtuals, which is largely focused on building an agentic commerce protocol where you have agents basically working with each other in a swarm, selling and buying each other's services or something like that. Something which is also cool, but I just feel like BitTensor is an amazing protocol, right? And so this for me is a very unique value proposition for CreativeBed. Okay, so somebody asked me, what do you think about Deaking, Aeon? Right, Aeon 1500 and the likes, and what's really happening with the CreativeBed ecosystem. So I'm going to give you my honest thesis, guys. I love CreativeBed. I held CreativeBed, but I'm no longer, full disclosure, I don't hold any of my earlier positions. I exited each one of them simply because I've burnt my hands before being being high conviction on a project. And so I feel like I want to play this cycle a little bit differently. I'm going to come back to my fundamental bets, guys, because I still have strong, very high conviction on Tau. So, once the dust settles, once we are back, once the euphoria is done, and I have made all the money that I can in the crypto markets, I'm going to cycle that capital back into holding Tau or Bitcoin or any of the other fundamental bets that I think will still exist 5 or 7 years down the line, right? So with that, let's look at what's really happening on the CreativeBed ecosystem, right? So what I did was I set up this deck screener multi-chart setup to quickly look at what's really happening on the CreativeBed token ecosystem. And so, we can already see, across the base, like Sally, which is one of its hallmark agent tokens, is down from its all-time high in March to like 14 million. Deaking had a great rally. It went all the way to 25 million. It did go past its all-time high, and then there is this correction happening, and now it's kind of ranging sideways at this moment in time. This still looking for some, we had these large red volume candles, which means people are basically dumping and exiting their positions. Same goes with Aeon as well. It had a pretty interesting rally going from like 2 million to 70 million. That's a sweet 8x, guys. And since then, it has lost a lot of its value. I specifically want to look at one of their recent launches, which was Rizy. Now, Rizy is basically also a token that is built and launched under the curated agent launchpad program, which is basically where the community endorses a token and votes to decide which token should go live, for a raise and basically for trading. And so people who participate in that process are able to enter into these projects at like at an FTP of 100K or 125K or whatever it is. So if you compare the early investors, they're at $2 million. If you got in at 100K, right, 10x would be a million, 20x would be 2 million. So those early investors are already up, by a bit, and this one actually went all the way. Look at this wick, guys. There's no end to it. It went to 16 million on the day that it was launched, and since then, we're seeing this as this tripped. It went all the way to 1.5 million before recovering a bit and slowing down. So for everything, for all the talk in the world around the tokenomics, the conviction world, right? That, we want to change the game on the incentive principles of the tokenomics, and we want to go away from, what's typically seen as the pump and dump culture of crypto, right? We want to make sure that people stick around longer. I don't see that yet. And I have, it's very hard for me to believe that it's ever gonna happen, because let's be very honest, people in crypto are the capital is mercenary, guys. It doesn't care about the protocol. It just cares about its gains. And so even if they probably won't have access to future launches or be put in some kind of a jail, I don't think that's going to stop people from entering into basically exiting these coins. Does that mean that I'm no longer bullish about CreativeBed? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if there are better opportunities in the market, capital will rotate out and move into those better opportunities. Like look at the bid chart, for instance. Let's look at the daily bid chart and look at the market cap, right? So you can already see, it's pretty much, we on the day of its launch, it had its huge wick, but since then, it has only trailed. And now in the past couple of weeks after the announcement of CreativeBed and the Yapper campaign on Kaito, we did see the price go from like, around 8-9 million to 50 million. So that's a, 5x. And since then, it's kind of trickled down. So is that going to come back again? Will people be interested? It's very hard to say, because when you have an alt cycle, let's go back to see how money flows. BTC will pump first, ETH will go next, big alts will go next, and then finally shitcoins and smaller alts will pump. So if we are seeing that ranging happen again, BID is clearly a strong contender, and if BID pumps, many of the BID ecosystem plays will also pump. So, and from one angle, if you think about it, at the current prices, many of them offer you offer you a great entry. For instance, which ones are those? Like Aeon. Aeon, I know, have a very strong product. They are backed by Subnet 6 Infinity Games. They have a proven model which is giving predictions in real time on events that are happening, which is a great product for for the likes of Kalshi or Polymarket. Same goes with Deaking, guys. Deaking has it's powered by Subnet 44's core vision. It's a great team. I think they have a great product. And Deaking is already showing its capability of autonomously bidding on sporting events and making money. So sorry, I don't know what has happened. So there's a lot of opportunity in some of these fundamental bets, but then there are others like Shogun and Towler, which was seeing a rally right now. Unfortunately, Dex Screener is no longer loading for me. But this gives us a very interesting opportunity, right? In terms of what's really happening on the platform on the curated bed side, it's a no-brainer. If you hold bed, if you have staked bed, if you have a bed level, and you can get in early into these launches, I will not be surprised to see more 15, 20, 30, 40, 50x opportunities coming out of the ecosystem simply because there's a lot of energy and opportunity in the space right now, especially where we are in the adoption curve. Rizy proves it. And look at the next live launch right now, Yuki. So Yuki was raising 47k and they're at 800k, so they have been oversubscribed right now, which means people will get a pro rata allocation and then they can go out there and sell in the market, right? So yes, there is opportunity, no doubt about it. If you want to play this opportunity, play this trend, go for it. I think it's a good buy. If you want more fundamental exposure in bid, I would probably resist doing that at this point in time. I would probably look at the depths on Aeon and Deaking, and maybe at a good entry prices, I might be interested in doing that. Alright guys, this is a rather long video, right? And so I would like to wrap up this episode right here. I feel like the Tau ecosystem overall is exciting to me, and I was looking at the numbers earlier today. Most of the metrics are trending up. We're again in the greed zone. As some of alpha prices have risen from the bottom to almost like 1.3, 1.4 levels. Reserves over injected are dipping. We're in the greed zone with more and more people kind of coming back to the Tau subnet ecosystem, and they've started like pumping these different projects. Like Shoots is up 25%, Celium is up 3%, Gradients is up 44%, Quantum, it's a surprise, Quantum subnet 63 is up 140%, and it's up 5x in the last 1 month alone. So money is beginning to trickle. We've already seen the Tau chart go from 327 to 430 in the last week alone, and so a lot of that anticipation and energy is now going into the subnet ecosystems. I feel I feel at an FTP of 1.4, 500, 600 million, many of these would still present interesting opportunities, but the best time to buy was yesterday. So I'll probably still wait. I won't want to expose myself trying to ape a trade simply because everything is moving up. I don't like that. In fact, that's an indicator for me to be extremely when what Warren Buffett says, when others are greedy you should be fearful, and when others are fearful you should be greedy in the context of investing in markets. And I think that it would serve all of us well if we think about our portfolios like that. Okay, guys, that was enough of a monologue. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to drop me a like and share this video with your friends so others can also enjoy our content. With that, I'll see you again next week with an amazing portfolio breakdown video. So do subscribe, do turn on the bell icon so you are the first one to know when I drop. It will be packed with alpha, I promise. All right, guys, see ya. Bye bye.